Morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, how are we doing? Oh, I've still got a bit of a diversion on down there side. Oh no, the diversion is because the road that way is shut. So we are going. We're going this way. Diverted traffic left. I've even a giraffe. I think that's the diversion to get round the road closure that was behind me. So as you can see, welcome to wet 7th of July in the UK. A lot of remembering what happened 20 years ago going on at the moment, because 20 years ago I was in London and 4 terrorists decided to blow up the bomb the tubes and the buses. The nearest one to us was in Trafalgar Square outside the British Medical Association headquarters, and as a result all traffic in London was stopped. All the tubes were stopped, all the buses were stopped, and all the basically all the traffic was stopped. And in those days, I was in near Camden Square, Harley Street, Wimpole Street, Harley Street, and everyone had to get home, and yeah, there was no transport. So what do you do with like 7 million people who are all 20 miles away from where they need to be in the evening, and absolutely no transport at all, apart from walking? Well, everybody's just started to walk. And in those days, Oxford Street was, nowadays it's buses only, or it might even be traffic free for all I know. But in those days, cars and buses used to go, or at least buses and taxis used to go down it. And it was all because everything was stopped. There were no, it was empty. For the first and last time in my life, I could have just laid down in the middle of Oxford Street for 20 minutes and had a nap. I decided not to, because when people being blown up all over the place and the emergency services scuttling around, the sight of a dead body in the middle of Oxford Street might have caused some consternation. But it was very weird. It was like London became almost like a ghost town, and everybody, normal rules didn't apply. We had to get off work early and just try and get home as best you can. The taxis, you might say, had a field day because they were the only sort of form of transport still running. But my secretary started walking. She lived in Finchley, which is is a hell of a walk. I mean, it is doable. If you cut through Regent's Park and that, and go up through Camden and that, you can walk to Finchley. And everybody was stopping taxis, and the trouble was these taxis already had people in. And the people who were in the taxis, they were like, "What are you stopping for? What are you taking more people on? I paid for this taxi. I want to just get home. I don't want to, just start taking people on." And the taxi drivers were saying, "Look, madam, this is a national emergency. All these people, I've never seen so many people walking north at the same time. Camden, it was just like people were walking on the streets. It was like like the Gaza Strip. Everybody just trying to walk one way, get away from the bombs." And I remember thinking at the time, they're turning, they turned the drama into a crisis by stopping all the transport, because I don't think that they got any further than that in their disaster plan. Their disaster plan was, somebody blows up a bus, what do? We'll stop the buses, get everybody off the buses. somebody blows up a tube train, what do? We stop the tube trains, get everybody off the tube trains. And nobody then asked the next question, okay, so now we've got 7 million people who need to get somewhere and can't travel. What do we do with them? And the answer is, I don't know, I haven't thought about that yet. They'll have to do the best we'll leave them to fend for themselves, They'll just have to do the best they can. And that's what people did, and they did it by, as I say, the taxi drivers did rise to the occasion for the most part. People shared transport, and a lot of people sort of came in, gave people lifts, and they just all, fortunately the phone network was still working, so people were able to ring and ask people to come in as far as they could and pick them up. Spirit of the Blitz, a bit like Spirit of the Blitz, what I've heard of from Spirit of the Blitz. And the other thing that happened, and it happened the day before, was that Britain was awarded the Olympics, the 2012 Olympics. That was on June 6th. Different year though. I think, let's just get the years right. So 20 years ago today would be 2005. And it might have been 2005, that the Olympics were awarded to Britain, June 6th. And again, I was there. Your correspondent was on the spot. Trafalgar Square. A reasonably large crowd, I would say. Trafalgar Square was full of people who probably for the most part thought there was about 10% of chance of us getting the contract. Sebastian Coe was our guy who was in charge of our tender, if I remember correctly. Lord Coe, now president of the International Olympic Committee, as far as I know. Anyway, we were there prepared to be disappointed. There's a great British tradition of hoping that something's going to go well, and then the crowd has to stand around and they play something like Monty Python's Always Look on the Bright Side of Life, because we've lost the bid or the race or the whatever it was. Anyway, the tension was high because on this occasion we were up against the French for the same contract. No, I mean, I'm leaving aside completely the fact that the winner is the loser in this competition. You sort of, you want it, but it's going to bankrupt you. So anyway, sure enough, the time comes, the Jumbotron TV screen announces, and the winner is the UK. And oh dear, everyone went bananas. I mean, there were people there with flags, there were people there, mainly Union Jack umbrellas, if I remember, big Union Jack umbrellas. And I remember thinking that it looked a little bit fake, this crowd, because I've seen big, English UK crowds and that, and horse racing, but this was like, someone had organised about 1,000 people to say, look, we've got to get some colour into this, we've got to get some Union Jacks into this. So you have a flag, you have a brolly, you have a flag, you have a brolly, like the Russians giving out rifles and ammunition. You have a rifle, you have a bullet. You have a rifle, you have a bullet. So anyway, when they announced it, and the crowd went mad, and then they started, playing music, and then the most mad thing was the red arrows came over the top of Trafalgar Square, and really not many people were expecting it. I don't think no one really knew that if we won, the red arrows were going to come over the top of Trafalgar Square. But sure enough, in they came, and pretty low and fast as well. Not not a 3,000 feet or anything, about 1,000 feet. And took us all by surprise, so much so that a lot of people probably had very little time to look up and see them coming. Because of that height, they will have been hidden by the surrounding buildings. But no, amazing, an amazing day, and so amazing to have been there. So pleased that I was there. And, on other days, perhaps if I'd been feeling slightly differently, I might have thought, I'll just, wait to hear it on the news, or I can't be bothered to go down there to get told that we haven't got it and the French have got it. But no, we were close enough, and we fancied a day out of the surgery. So we went down there. This is my oldest daughter and I. And I'm glad we did. It was an incredible moment we shared, In my life, I've been present at some incredible moments. I must say, I don't know whether it's just through fluke or being a bit prescient or whatever. Another one, a dental one, was when the General Dental Council approved the use of the word, the prefix doctor for dentists. And this was, it was a big old debate, and the GDC, they bloviate on everything, and generally doesn't matter what it is. Like, the sun is in the sky, what they'll do is they'll decide that they're going to be on one side or the other, so they can have a good old discussion. Sometimes they get it right, sometimes they don't. I don't know. Don't tell me they finished those roadworks there after about 2 months. And wouldn't believe, would you, that the dentist governing body would really, this is so symptomatic of what I've always said, in my lifetime, how regulating bodies, I hesitate to call them a governing body, but the bodies that have regulatory power over it have really adopted a confrontational approach. They see the professions there as the enemy. And so there was quite a lot of talk about why doctors shouldn't be allowed to be called dentists shouldn't be allowed to be called doctor. And the argument in favour was that across Europe, anyone with any sort of post doctoral qualification, in other words, anything with more than a basic BSc or a BA, is afforded the title of doctor, and it's doctor basically of learning. You can be a PhD, you can be a doctor. You don't have to be a medical doctor. You can just call yourself doctor something, because it's a title of respect. And so under those circumstances, there's certainly no doubt that the dental degree or degrees qualify for the award of the title doctor. And every European country understands this. And every European dentist calls themselves doctor this, doctor that. There's absolutely no confusion, because if there was any chance of confusion, they just put Dr. Schmidt Zarnoff, which means Dr. Smith, who is a dentist. And everyone knows, that's good, because I wasn't looking for a doctor who's a dentist who does teeth. But no, not in the UK. We've got this weird contradictory meme, which is where if you are a surgeon, in other words, if you're a doctor and you're just handing out pills, then you used to get called doctor. But then there was a certain type of doctor who was did operations, did surgery. And you might not want someone who does pills. You might want someone to amputate your leg or something. And he used to differentiate himself from the rest of the doctors, the run-of-the-mill doctors, by reverting to the title Mr. He would be called Mr. Smith because he's a surgeon or an oral surgeon or whatever. Well, I mean, this distinction of going from Mr. and then up to Doctor and then further up to Mr. again is completely lost on the public. They don't know about this. It's not intuitively understandable, and what they tend to assume is that if you're a doctor and you're called Mr., it's because you've been struck off. So, I got tired after a while of explaining to people why dentists were called Mr., because dentists are surgeons. We work on, in practical terms, on the patient's body. We operate. So we are better than doctors. We are accorded the title of Mr. as a surgeon, better than a pill-popping doctor. Anyway, after a while, I think the profession got fed up of explaining why Mr. was better than Doctor, which was better than Mr. And so they just decided to try and go over to the continental system where dentists are all called Doctor. And to give them their credit, the GDC did vote in favour of legalised use of the title Doctor. Was the catchphrase led by a guy called Douglas Pike, who was, who made all the arguments that I've just made. Anyway, he got it to the GDC, and the GDC passed it because really they couldn't see any, the opposition to it, which is that the public would get confused, was too weak given the European example. But they weren't content with that, because the powers that be, who really didn't want dentists to be lauding it around calling themselves doctor, then went to the Advertising Standards Agency, and they said that if a physician was able to represent himself as Dr. Dr. Angry, whatever, it would confuse the public in adverts. And the public, when seeking a dentist or a doctor mainly, and I think a lot of the opposition came from the doctors, when looking for a doctor, they would see an advert for Dr. So-and-so, and then they would just assume that this bloke was a doctor because they hadn't read the small print. That in fact he was Dr. Angry in brackets dentist. Why the Germans were perfectly able to cope with this, and the French and the Italians and the Spanish and the Portuguese and the Greeks and the Hungarians and the Polish and the Baltic states and Sweden and Norway, Denmark, Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania could cope with this, but the British are uniquely stupid and couldn't. It will never, has always escaped me. If you worked or advised the Advertising Standards Authority at that time, perhaps you'd let me know. But the Advertising Standards Authority probably did the job that the General Dental Council hadn't, but probably would have liked to, but couldn't, and said, yes, you're welcome to call yourself doctor, but you can't do it in any communication with the public. Which sort of just completely pulled the rug out, didn't it, from the change? So the naysayers and the doom mongers got their wish. So we're not really much further on, other than the fact that if I want to call myself doctor, I can have doctor on the doctor on my card, and I will probably want to put dentist after it, just to make it quite clear what's going on. But I don't have to. It's in the same way as if I've got a PhD in, biosciences, I can have doctor on my card and I don't have to put in brackets biosciences your qualifications. You know, your the letters after your name are supposed to communicate that. So I don't know where Douglas Park is now. He's probably pushing up the daisies somewhere. If he isn't, I hope. Hello, Douglas, and well done for all your hard work. And you got crushed by the blob, as so many people have before and after, including me. Got a patient coming in today. Nice bloke. All my patients are nice people. And we've done him a filling, and he's going away for 2 weeks. And you get this a lot in the summer. He's a bit concerned. He's had a twinge. He doesn't want to get an infection away from home, so he's going to call in for some antibiotics. So on a Sunday, I've made arrangements for him to come in at a time that's convenient to him this morning, which is about 9:30, to pick these antibiotics. And I said to him he could come in at 8:45. He said, I'd rather come in at 9:30 because I'll be on my way to the ferry. And I'm like, okay, fine, 9:30, we'll fit in with you. So that's just a good example of the sort of first-class service that you need to offer if you're a private dentist. You need to reply to people, even if it's on a Sunday. The reason why he rang us on the Sunday was because he got a twinge, and he's on the ferry this morning, Monday morning, first thing. So when else is he going to contact us? He can't bring us Monday afternoon, can he? Be in France by then. So you just have to do whatever's necessary, if it's reasonable. And do whatever's necessary to make your business the best business anyone could possibly expect. Then, because remember the maxim: if you're getting exactly what you want, the price is not immaterial, but it's really, really low down on your list of priorities. If you're not getting what you want, then you can't even give it away for free. So make sure that your service is very closely tailored to the needs of your community. So we've had a few more little funny things happen, which I might tell you about on the way home. Anyway, won't be long. I will talk to you soon. White cars, very popular at one time. Bye.